Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first ever Sports Zone March Madness special. March Madness starts this Thursday, so we thought we'd do our best and preview all the matchups for you. And here with me today is our litany of analysts, starting at the very end. From Mean Green Mania, joining us today is Wyatt Schott. Right here is Q Cherry, Adam C. from Mean Green Mania as well. And on my right, we have Parker Smith, Christian Brasuch, and Gunnar Talbot. We're going to start today in the South Conference, where we see the #1 overall seeded Auburn Tigers. Now, guys, they've been a little bumpy, just a little bit bumpy to end the year. Adam, I'll start with you. Do you think this was a justified seeding?
I actually still think it's justified, #1. I know that Auburn lost 3 out of the last 4, but the teams they lost to, A&M, Bama, Tennessee, 2 of those teams are 2 seeds in this tournament. Other one's a 4 seed. They're not losing to clunkers. They're not losing to a group of 5 school. They're losing to very, very talented teams. And to me, Auburn is still the most skilled team in the country right now. I'll say that. They can spread out the attack. 5 different players averaging over 10 points per game. Broom is playing really, really great this year. He terrorizes the interior, and I think that opens up the perimeter. I think Auburn wins this tournament, bar none.
I agree with you that Auburn's a very talented team. And something that they always get clowned for a lot is how old they are. They always talk about how, like, Chad Baker, whatever his name is, or Mazzara is, like, 26 years old. And it's like, that is hilarious, but it helps them in the tournament. The experience that these teams have, it goes a long way. It really does.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they're definitely justified to still be the 1 seed. You can't discredit the season they had before. It's like, people forget they beat Houston earlier in the year. However, I would say, out of a lot of the 1 seeds, they do have a hard matchup. You know, in the second round, they could be playing Louisville in Lexington. It's basically a home game. You know, I'd still take them to win that game, but they do have, like, a harder road, I guess.
Yeah, and Louisville's a team that is AP top 10 right now, and they're the 8 seed. They got absolutely hosed by the rankings, and that's someone that I think was completely misranked by the committee.
Yeah, I entirely disagree. I think Auburn is the worst 1 seed right now. I think all 3 of those other teams have a better case at the #1 overall seed than Auburn does. Duke is 27-1 in their last 28 games. They won their tournament without their best player, okay? Houston started 4-3, 26-1 since, also won the Big 12 tournament. Florida, 12-1 in their last 13 games, won the SEC tournament. All 3 of these teams are much hotter right now and are playing better basketball than Auburn, and they all have less losses than Auburn. So me personally, I think Auburn should have been the last 1 seed in, not the first.
I absolutely agree. I mean, time and time again this season, Auburn has lost the games when it's really mattered the most. Obviously, they have great wins just along with those losses, but they really did not perform well in the SEC tournament. And I think that we can't count on them to get the job done when it counts the most. Like we talked, they might have a Louisville matchup round 2. Can we count on this team to go after that game after game against these hard teams whenever in the regular season they couldn't do it then?
And the one thing we always look for with these mid-major teams to look and see if they're going to make a run is, are they hot at the right time? Auburn is cold at the wrong time. They've lost 3 out of their last 4 games, and I'm banking on them to lose pretty early in this tournament.
Yeah, Louisville's thriving right now. I think that Louisville gets them round 2. I really do.
Now, Parker, do you see Auburn losing in that second round in Louisville? Like we just mentioned, there are a lot of great teams in this bracket. Texas A&M, an SEC opponent, Michigan State. A lot of people are high on them. Do you think they're going to lose pretty early in this tournament?
Yeah, I could see them losing round of 32 or Sweet 16. They're my 1 seed that I think is the weakest right now. Obviously, I just mentioned how dominant those other 3 1 seeds have been over the last back half of the season, and Auburn just hasn't been that. And, I mean, I think they rely too much on Janai Broom in the clutch, and he can't make a free throw, guys. Come on, this is a huge problem that we're not talking about. Hack a broom is very real, and I think you could see that having a huge impact in this tournament for them.
Yeah, a lot of eyes are going to be on Auburn for this tournament, but a lot of eyes were on the Big Ten this weekend. Michigan came out on top with a thrilling victory against Wisconsin this past Sunday. Q, I'll start with you. A lot of people have Michigan on their upset radar. They're playing a hot team in UC San Diego. Do you think that's justified, or do you think Michigan is legit?
I think Michigan is legit. I think they had 11 Q1 wins. They honestly shouldn't even be the 5th seed. They should be at least 4th seed or 3rd seed. They outdid Purdue and Maryland, beat Wisconsin 2-1. I think they're legit contenders. I don't know a lot about Michigan, but I think they should be a little higher. I don't think UC State has a chance. They have a really good chance to upset them. 5th seed's a really hard route, but I think they'll be all right.
I actually agree with that. Like, I think Michigan should be higher seeded. As we saw this year, the Big Ten was a bit of a bloodbath in terms of opponents. Like, they were too busy beating up on each other to actually focus on the future. And while UC San Diego is very talented, and I think that we could definitely see them pull an upset, I don't think Michigan is as upset heavy as so many people are putting them out to be.
See, I disagree because while I agree that the 5th seed was a bit harsh, you know, like you have Kentucky at a 3 seed and A&M as a 4 seed. I think Michigan's definitely better than those teams. They're definitely on upset watch, all right?
Yeah.
When you have a team like UC San Diego who plays 5 out wide and is going to spread their 2 7-footers that they have inside, it's going to leave them vulnerable to getting in the paint against them, especially if they shoot well. They're a very good 3-point shooting team. Every year you see a team like a lower seeded team that just shoots incredibly insane the first round. And I think you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have told you Michigan could have went very far in this tournament, but they definitely got, you know, like you said, hosed by the standings, and they just got a bad first-round matchup.
It's a super interesting, everything about this Michigan-UC San Diego game is interesting. You got the 2 7-footers from Michigan, and that's been the weakness so far for UC San Diego. All of their losses this year have come against good big men. But on the other hand, Michigan's really, really bad about turning the ball over, and UC San Diego is the best turnover defense in all of college basketball, bar none. So you have that. Also, Michigan's red hot. They lose the last 3 games of the regular season, and you think that we're like, oh man, Michigan's getting cold at the wrong time. And then they go and they win every single game and they win their conference championship. So now it's like this, all these styles are clashing. I don't know who's going to come out on top. UC San Diego is an amazing team. That's a great program. They just turned D1 very recently. They were D2 in 2020. And now here they are in 2025, 5 years later, as a 12 seed. And they're another storyline right there, that 12-5 matchup. You have one every single year. Could this be the one?
I don't know about you guys, but I'm riding with Dusty May here, all right? And this guy is an elite college basketball coach. Just took Florida Atlantic to the Final Four just 2 years ago. Now he comes over to Michigan. They win the Big Ten in his first season as the head coach. I mean, Trey Donaldson's got some magic going to him right now, and those 2 7-footers are going to be super tough to stop. You mentioned, obviously, you know, Michigan is 349th in the nation in non-steal turnover percentage. So they're very reckless with the ball. They be turning it over quite a bit. But, you know, get hot down the stretch. Those 2 7-footers, man, that's going to be tough for a mid-major team to stop.
That's going to be tough for a lot of teams to stop.
But to be fair, the flip side is a little bit on UC side. They're short where they shouldn't. They're short down low, but they're long everywhere else. And they get really good pokes in. As long as they can win the turnover margin, once you win the turnover game, you win games.
Yeah, I don't think there's any denying that this one's going to come down to the wire.
It's definitely interesting because, you know, like you said, UC San Diego, their tallest guy is only like 6'8", but every single guy on that team is long and can play defense.
Yeah, I mean, this team dies by the 3, I think. Like, they hit 385 threes on the season as a team. That's top 30 in the nation, definitely. And I think that crazier, we've seen teams like this all the time. They come in hot, they shoot the lights out of the 3. But we talked about UC San Diego. They struggle against taller players. And Michigan, I don't think that they're going to be able to hit those passes out, the drive-in pass out like they thrive so much with those 2 7-footers down low. Michigan's defense might eat them alive in this game.
Yeah, those 5-12 matchups are always one to watch. But something that's been something to watch these past couple of years is Ivy League schools. We saw last year with Yale beating Auburn. We saw a couple years ago with Princeton making that Sweet 16 Elite 8 run. We have Yale this year playing against Texas A&M. Gunnar, I'll start with you here. Do you see any more Ivy League magic this year?
Oh, yeah, I could definitely see it this year. Texas A&M, I mean, I'll kind of say I think they're frauds. All year they've been quite almost mediocre in a lot of stats. The main thing that they have for them is offensive rebounding, and all it takes is one bad game off the boards. And Yale has been, you know, they saw it last year with an upset. This year they've gotten only better. I think they have 2 guards, senior guards who have been in that program for at least 2 or 3 years, who know how to play in that system, have been playing the best basketball lately. I think this could definitely be an upset. I'm not saying both San Diego and Yale are going to win, but I would definitely say one of those 2 teams are going to be an upset.
I like Yale too. They take smart shots. I think they have top 20, top 10 3-point rating in the country. They have really good. Take care of the ball really well. They lost to Purdue this year, but even when they did, they kept it pretty close. And Purdue, their 4th seed, I like them upsetting A&M.
Guys, this is fool's gold right here.
Yeah.
This is fool's gold. I'm telling you right now, the popular upset is never the one you want to pick. This Texas A&M team is the best in the nation on the offensive glass. That means something in this tournament. These second chance points are going to kill Yale in this game. They are a small school. I don't care how hot Yale is. A team like Texas A&M with a senior guard like Wade Taylor, I'm going to trust them every day of the week. I'm taking Texas A&M.
You mentioning Wade Taylor is actually something I was about to touch on. If he's on, he's on, and I'm not worried about this game for Texas A&M. But if Wade Taylor is not having his best game, then you can find yourself in some trouble. Because I don't know where the offense is going to come from for A&M. If Wade Taylor's off, and you're only relying on like offensive rebounds and second chance points, which you can do. You can win a basketball game that way, and A&M's shown that throughout the entire year. They're not the most talented team, but they grit their way to wins. They're going to have to do that if Wade Taylor's off. They're capable of it, but it's not a formula that you really want to rely on super heavily in tournament time.
In my opinion, nobody on an Ivy League team is going to stop Wade Taylor one-on-one, and I'm going to bank on that.
What's his name?
Yeah, I just think that this Yale team is so perimeter heavy, and A&M is one of the best perimeter defensive teams in the nation, averaging I want to say 8 steals a game. Like they're gonna get those pokes on the perimeter, and I don't know if Yale has an answer down low for A&M at all.
So what do you think about Mr. Two-time DPOY? What's his name? Bang, best bang for Yale.
For Yale, oh yeah. I think that he's great. What's his name? Poe. I can't say his name either. But yeah, Yale has great
John
defenders,
Paul.
but they're just outmatched. Like A&M is a great system that's been playing the best defense we've seen out of them at the right time. I mean, earlier they were kind of defensively, but they've been really great lately at the right time going into the tournament.
All right, as we take a look at the rest of the bracket here, obviously we have Auburn in the opening matchup. They'll have to wait for their opponent. Louisville and Creighton is the 8-9 matchup. Michigan and UC San Diego, that's going to be a matchup to watch. Another matchup to watch here, Texas A&M and Yale. Ole Miss will face the winner of San Diego State and UNC. Iowa State will play Lipscomb. Marquette will play New Mexico, and then Michigan State will face Bryant. That's going to do it for this block. Stay tuned, where all eyes are on Cooper Flag and the Duke Blue Devils.
Has this ever happened to you?
My bike! My bike is gone!
Stolen bikes are an epidemic sweeping college campuses across America.
What am I supposed to do?
It's quite simple. The We Mean Green Fund has partnered with the UNT Police Department to offer free bike locks to any UNT student with a bike. Just show up with your bike in tow and ask.
Now I'll never lose my bike ever again.
Enough worrying. Get your bike lock today.
Craving something fresh, flavorful, and made just for you? Look no further than Avesta, your go-to destination for a delicious, full-service dining experience. Dive into our customizable omelets, expertly crafted by our talented cook Jonathan, who guarantees every bite is perfection. All our dishes are handmade, prepared with only the freshest ingredients. Explore our assembly line where you can choose from any of our globally inspired dishes, or customize your plate. It's that easy. And let's not forget dessert. Indulge your sweet tooth with treats from Clark Bakery. With convenient payment methods including card or flex, it's the perfect dining spot for any occasion. Quench your thirst with our wide selection of drinks. Just hand your drinking card to our friendly waiter, and they'll bring your beverage of choice right to your table. When you're done savoring every last bite, our attentive staff will whisk away your tray. Enjoy the peaceful ambiance as you dine in, or use our takeout option for a meal on the go. Avesta.
Welcome back to our Sports Zone special. Here to join us today are our analyst, Wyatt Schott here from Mean Green Mania, Q Cherry. Also joining us from Mean Green Mania is Adam C. Joining us here from our regular Monday Sports Zone cast, Parker Smith, Christian Bursuch, and Gunnar Talbot. We just finished up wrapping up our South bracket talk. Now we're going to move on to the East, where all eyes are on Cooper Flag and the Blue Devils. They won their ACC tournament without Cooper Flag, and many of them had them as the favorites to win the whole thing. Now, Q, I'm going to start with you. Do you feel the same way? Do you think Duke should be getting all this love?
The way the question is structured is kind of making it seem like the rest of Duke is just some food, some collard greens, green beans, lambs. Like the rest, like they're not baby food. Like they can carry their weight and wait till Hope arrives or Goku arrives in Cooper Flag to take them the rest of the way.
Parker, I'll go with you here. Duke, they've been playing great. Won the ACC tournament without Cooper Flag. What do you think of this team that they are still able to get these big wins without arguably their best player?
Yeah, and it just goes to show how complete this roster really is. I mentioned earlier last segment, they're 27-1 in their last 28 games. This is crazy. They're not losing to anybody. Their last loss was to Clemson on February 8th. They've been dominant ever since. They ran through the ACC even without Cooper Flag in the tournament. And it just goes to show how important depth is for this team. And, I mean, a guy like Con Knipple, man, he is really raising his draft stock every game without Cooper Flag. He kind of looks like Luke out there to me, a little bit slow, able to facilitate, shoot that three ball. And, I mean, the big man as well, Kamen Muliak, he has been awesome, as well as Sion James, Tyrese Proctor, Caleb Foster. They've got guys on guys, and they're going to compete with anybody with or without Cooper Flag.
I was going to say, I really like that you brought up Con Knupel, because watching the ACC tournament with Cooper Flag out, I mean, he just elevated himself, and I think if he comes into the tournament like that, with Cooper Flag, who could possibly still be feeling that injury, have a bit of like lingering pain, I feel like if Knupel's hot, Duke could go all the way.
Yeah. See, I think Cooper Flag, they're going to have him back by that second round, probably to face Baylor. Probably, yeah. I think they're going to have him back soon, and once they have Cooper Flag back, they definitely should be overwhelming favorites. However, I think that every year we get caught up in this, there's that one player that's that lottery player that everyone loves that thinks he's going to do really good. Like, remember Duke in 2019 with R.J. Barrett and Zion Williams, right? Like, they were supposed to win it all, too, and they lost, I think, in the Sweet 16. Lonzo Ball and UCLA in 2017. Like, every year there is this great team that always kind of fizzles out in probably the Sweet 16. So I worry about that.
Yeah, for sure, and that's a legit worry. Something that relieves me of that worry a little bit is because of their pool and where they are in the bracket. It's a very weak region relative to some of the other ones. Someone that we haven't mentioned is Isaiah Evans, and that's a dude that has stepped up really, really big for Duke. That is a former five-star that started the year not getting a lot of playing time at all, like barely any playing time, and he has really, really stepped up as of late. He had double-digit points in almost every single game in the ACC tournament. He had like 30 points at the end of the regular season game. He's stepped up big time for them, and a huge spark off the bench. He has a burner. He can shoot it from anywhere. Yeah,
he's really stepped up from the three-point line is what I was going to say. And this Duke team, that's one of the things that they do so well is shooting the three. So for him to just step up like that when Cooper Flag went down, like it just adds another weapon in the team to this team that in the tournament is going to be really big. I mean, we've seen in the past few years that the college basketball starting to mimic the NBA in terms of three-point shots. But Duke, one thing that they've always been behind in is the efficiency. College players have never been able to shoot it as efficient. But this Duke team, almost 38% as a team, that's unmatched. I mean, this team, they can shoot the lights out. If they really do get Cooper Flag back round two, I don't see how anyone can stop this team.
Yeah, I agree. And another team, speaking of teams that shoot the lights out, I want to speak on Alabama, because that's a team that is so good at shooting the three ball, and that is their entire offense. I saw earlier their shot chart, and everything was on the perimeter, and everything else was right in the middle of the paint. They do not take mid-range shots. They will take it from anywhere across the three-point line, but you better get 2 feet in the paint if you're going to shoot a two for Alabama. Now, the only thing about that is that it concerns me a little bit because you're so volatile. If you are not making threes, where does the offense come from? You know what I'm saying?
Reminds me a lot of the 2017 Houston Rockets that missed those 27 straight threes.
Exactly, and 100%. It's the same kind of philosophy that Alabama uses, and it's a little bit concerning if you're trying to pick them in a single-game elimination tournament. Because if you have one bad game, it's over. Your season's done. You're going to Cancun.
I'm definitely thinking like Alabama's going to go far in this tournament, but I'm worried about maybe that second-round matchup, possibly against St. Mary's, who plays very good defense. I've had a lot of grinded-out games this year. Very boring games, very low-scoring games. If they can put a halt to that three-point shot, like a team that lives and dies by the three, it could be questioned.
That's a really good point. Any team that's going to slow Alabama's pace down just by being themselves, someone like St. Mary's, someone like, I know they're on the opposite side of the bracket, but like Drake plays very slow. So, I mean, North Texas is a team that plays very, very slow. And playing against a fast-paced team when you're someone that is so slow, it throws off just the frequency of the other team that wants to go fast.
I think about like Zach Edey's Purdue, for example. Like that team Alabama would struggle a lot against it. Like they can't handle teams that play like post-oriented basketball. Like if they had a strong center standing in the paint, like you talked about, if there's no threes, where is that coming from? And if they have a strong defensive anchor down there, this Alabama team struggles to score like from anywhere. They can't get their threes when they can't get to the paint either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alabama will be a popular team to watch. Something that's also popular, like I mentioned last block, these 5-12 seeds. They are always something to watch when it comes to March Madness. They are the most picked upset, and we have a good one. Oregon against Liberty. Two clashing styles, but it should be a very good matchup. Wyatt, I'm going to start with you here. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, there's definitely some potential here for upsets. There's no doubt about that. Liberty is a very fast team, so not the exact kind of fast as Alabama because they will attack the basket and drive with their guards, but they're fast because they're one of the smallest teams in college basketball. They are, I think, 2 inches below average height throughout the team average height thing. So that's something you have to watch. Now, on the flip side of that, Oregon should be able to dominate in the paint. They really should. What's his name? Nate Biddle. He should be able to go to work for them. He's a 7-footer that Oregon has. If he has a good game, Oregon should be able to win this. If they eliminate Nate Biddle, it's going to be a lot tougher for Oregon to win.
But let me say this. Threes are more than twos, and I'm pretty sure Liberty's, 5th in threes, 28th in three-point allowed.
First in percentage.
So if you can't keep up with the three, twos don't really matter.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the path. That's the path of the upset for Liberty right there.
Yeah, and I mean, 39% three-point percentage. I mean, that's insane for a college team.
Yeah. Let alone a mid-major.
Yeah, a mid-major college team hitting 39% from three. I think like they're number 6 in something. I think just points even.
I think the thing that you guys might be overlooking is that Oregon is actually the 3rd best team in the nation when it comes to defending the 3-ball. And so they should be able to shut that down. And honestly, this is another one of those 5-12s I'm looking at where I think Oregon is going to win pretty handedly.
See, I agree with Parker here. Like with Wyatt said, they're 2 inches below the average. I just think the height advantage is small. They're not going to be able to play that defense. They're really relying on just an offensive game here. That if Oregon, if they don't stop Oregon, if they don't knock their 3 down, I don't think they're going to have really any way of defending it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and also the rebounds. I mean, Oregon's going to bully them down low. They're going to bully them, probably get a lot of offensive boards, second chance points. I mean, like, Liberty's going to have to be on their A game. Like, they're going to have to hit practically everything if they want to beat Oregon. It's a real interesting matchup.
Yeah, it should be a fun one to watch. Now, let's talk about another fun thing. Those are dark horses, teams you don't expect to make a run, who all of a sudden, they're in the Elite 8. They're in the Final 4. So, Christian, I'm going to start with you here. Do you think there are any dark horse teams in this bracket?
In this bracket, if I had to pick one, I'm honestly picking BYU. I think that BYU was kind of disrespected when it comes to the seeding. I think that all year that they've been in a tough conference and that they've won really, really tough games also. I mean, I think that they easily get through VCU. And, I mean, that Wisconsin game, I don't have much faith in this Wisconsin team. That might be a hot take. But I think that if they get through those 2 games, the momentum will be enough for them. And from there, anything can happen. But I think that they have a good, favorable first 2 matchups, and that could take them very far.
See, I completely disagree with that. I got VCU beating BYU first round. That's
So do
my
I.
upset.
So do I.
No. Yes, all right. They won the Atlantic 10 Conference. They shut down Loyola, Illinois. That's why we don't see Sister Jean dancing in this tournament anymore. They're beating their opponents by an average of 13 points a game. I know it's a smaller conference, but they're still destroying their opponents. I think VCU has a really good chance of beating BYU.
Yeah, I'll say this. BYU, one, is a fantastic team, and they rely on the 3-point ball just like a lot of these other teams do. And that was what bit them last year when they lost to Duquesne. Duquesne was not a very good basketball team. They proved that in the next round of that tournament. They happened to beat BYU because BYU had a terrible shooting day. Now, besides that, BYU is not like Alabama in terms that they can't get in the paint because they can. They run zoom action, which is a pin-down screen into a dribble handoff. They run that action, I think, like 40% of their possessions, and it's extremely effective. They get wide-open shots all the time. But VCU is one of the best defensive teams in the entire country. I know it's against lower quality competition, but VCU has proven that they can do this. And it's just, they have a winning culture at Virginia Commonwealth. They've done this since Shaka Smart was there. It doesn't matter how many head coaches it seems like goes through VCU. They just get it done. And when it comes to tournament time, they're always a team to watch. I have it written down right here. It's the game of the region for me. I think it's going to be a great one.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch. There's another team we have to watch here, and that's St. Mary's. I feel like they're kind of under the radar just a little bit here. Parker, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this team?
Yeah, and you, out of anyone, know that I'm a big fan of St. Mary's. I love the way they play. They play selfless team basketball, and they play just hard-nosed defense every single year. They're super tough to score on, really slow pace, and against a team like Vanderbilt with former UNC player Jason Edwards, you know he loves to push the pace. That's going to be an interesting matchup, a huge clash of styles there, and it should be for a good one.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to bring them up before you even asked the question. I mean, like St. Mary's, that defense gets me really excited for their chances in the tournament because I think that they'll beat Vanderbilt. And you know what? I'll say it right here. They have a really good chance to beat Bama. And then beyond that point, if we're talking like 16 seed, who knows? I think you can see them in the Elite Eight. I'm calling it right here. St. Mary's the Elite Eight.
You could definitely see that. You mentioned the potential Alabama versus St. Mary's matchup. That's a great example of a slower paced team versus this rapid paced team, and you could see the slow pace really affect Alabama. You talked about the team basketball that St. Mary's plays, and you couldn't be more right. The St. Mary's is like your stereotypical like high school, old school coach is talking about like you have to pass it 5 times before you shoot. If you like that style of basketball, you're gonna love St. Mary's because that's the kind of stuff that they do.
Also huge on the glass, second in the nation in offensive rebound percentage. That's going to be something to watch. Can Vandy keep them off the glass?
Right.
And, you know, they've been, like you said about defensively, right? They've been holding all their opponents to about 50, 60 points. Even they've already beat Gonzaga twice this year. I know they lost a few days ago, but it was a 51-58 game. And like you said, also about VCU, which is kind of a winning school, I think St. Mary's just has that culture in them that they're always going to win. So I definitely see it being Vanderbilt. I'm not saying they're going to beat Alabama, but I think it's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, you can never sleep on those great, consistent teams. Coming up next, we're going to discuss one of the best teams in college basketball in the Florida Gators.
I wonder what's on the radio today. I don't know about this. This is not it.
Everything alternative, commercial free. 88.1 Indy.
Here at KNTU, we have 2 traditional stations, 88.1 Indy and KNTU Jazz. We've also recently launched an internet radio station called Mean Green Hits. If you want to hear more, you can check us out at MediaNorthTexas.com.
That was pretty good.
Hey Alex, this guy on the internet says he wants to give me money.
That sounds suspicious.
What do you mean?
Typically, strangers who promise you money on the internet have their own best interest in mind. They often use bounced checks, which will disappear shortly after depositing, but not before they've asked for some money in return.
So he doesn't really want to spoil me?
No.
Well, then what should I do?
The best way to handle it is to block and report the suspicious message, or even consult local law enforcement if you've already fallen victim.
So I guess we aren't going to Key West for spring break.
No.
There's no harm in wanting to have fun while in college, but it's easy to lose track of how much you've had. Apps like Drink Control and Alkadroid can help keep track of your consumption and blood alcohol levels. If you or someone else does drink too much, the signs of alcohol poisoning are as follows: pale skin, vomiting, confusion, low body temperatures, irregular breathing, blacking out, and it's hard to wake up or cannot be woken up.
Dude, are you okay? Hey, what's wrong? Wake up.
It's an exciting time of year, but it's important to be responsible. If you suspect someone is suffering from alcohol poisoning, get help immediately. You will not get in trouble for seeking help if you are underage. For more info and resources, go to UNT's Division of Student Affairs.
Welcome back into our Sports Zone special. I'm your host, Isaiah Ortiz, joined again by our analyst. On my left, Wyatt Schott, Q Cherry, Adam C., Parker Smith, Kristen Brasuch, and Gunnar Talbot. We are now discussing the West bracket. As our analysts were just talking about during the commercial break, it might be the toughest side of the bracket for this year's tournament. The Florida Gators, they've been one of the best teams in college basketball, but with the amount of great opponents in this bracket, can they make it out is the big question. Q, I'm going to go with you here. What are their chances to make it out and make the Final Four?
Unless we have another Gonzaga incident on our hands, I think they have not a smooth path. It's a little bumpy, it's a little rocky, but I think they make the Final Four.
Yeah. Gunnar, what are your thoughts?
See, I love this conference. I love this region. It has 3 of the 6 30-win teams in college basketball, right? You know, I definitely like Florida. They're on a hot streak. They just beat Tennessee and Alabama back to back. So, but they have I don't know if I trust them to make it out of this region just because of this. Just because of these teams, like UConn's second round is going to be a very hard match. If they end up meeting St. John's, that's going to be hard. Rick Pitino always gets after it. Turn around that whole program in 2 years. Drake is a very, like he said, very slow defensive team. That can give, a lot of teams in this region can give problems, but so I don't know if I like Florida, but they're definitely interesting.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm rooting for Oklahoma to beat UConn in the first round. That dude, Dan Hurley, is a tool. All right? Give me Jeremy Fears in Oklahoma to beat UConn, and then, hopefully, give us a good matchup against Florida. But that's the only thing I care about in this bracket. I want UConn to lose in the first round of this tournament.
All right, so big Dan Hurley hater. Yeah, he could have been the coach of the Lakers. I want y'all to remember that. Dan Hurley could have been coaching Luka Doncic.
He could have been coaching Bronny.
He could have been coaching Bronny, dude.
Could have brought it on them. Please don't.
but I'm going to agree. I actually think for me, Florida's trouble spot is to about the Sweet 16 because I think UConn or Oklahoma can be very difficult opponents. Oklahoma was very good out of conference this year. And also, honestly, Maryland looks very good in the Big Ten this year, and I think that they could surprise a lot of people in this tournament, and I think they could surprise Florida if it came down to it.
Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast. Well, first off, I want to say, this is, I have it written down right here if y'all want to see, region of pain and agony, because, this is ridiculous. You have Florida, you have St. John's, you have Texas Tech, Maryland, Drake, Missouri, Kansas, Arkansas. This is absurd. There are so many good teams here. And I would not be shocked if 1 through 11 made it out of this region.
Mm-hmm.
All of these teams are capable. One team that I want to get on a soapbox for is my Grand Canyon University Lopes. I absolutely am in love with this team.
Best student section in college basketball.
Dude, it is electric every time they play. And it's an online school, and they have people there. They got more people at their games than we do at our games, and they're an online school.
Yeah, online school with 3 straight tournament appearances.
I know.
When you play like UNT, you're not going to get a lot of fans.
That's personal.
But GCU is incredible. Tyon Grant Foster is legit NBA level talent. He came into this year with Naismith Player of the Year, preseason Player of the Year award honors. He had some injuries that he had to deal with this year. He has an incredible background story. I don't know if y'all have heard of it. I don't have time to go into it right now. But this team's really good, and the best thing is that it's not just Tyon Grant Foster. They have Jacoby Coles, they have Malachi Williams, they have Colin Moore, they have Ray Harrison, they have Duke Brennan. All of these guys are former D1 players. They have all transferred down to GCU for one reason or another, and it's worked out incredibly well for them. This is a stacked team, and it's not your typical G5 because they have real D1 talent all over the floor.
Yeah, I agree, and you could say the same thing about Drake. Both Grand Canyon and Drake, what they have in common, both of them are 2 of the lowest when it comes to volume. They shoot the least amount of threes in the nation, and both of them are great, scrappy defensive teams. And I think that in this bloody region, that could really help them when it comes to these close games. That they're going to be they're going to face a lot of beat up opponents if one of them even can manage to get out of round 1. And I think that the way their philosophy of play, the not relying on the 3-point as much, playing that gritty defense, shooting the mid-range shot like we've talked about today, a lot of teams completely avoiding it. Both of those teams, they actually thrive in the mid-range, and I think that'll give them a floor spacing that, in more of a case Missouri, I think Drake has a better chance. I don't agree as such with Grand Canyon. I love that team, but I think that Maryland's too much for them. But I really think Drake can overpower Missouri with just the way that they play basketball. Their philosophy will be not what Missouri's used to.
That's the thing that sucks is that I actually think that Maryland's going to win. I just love Grand Canyon so much. Maryland's so good.
An online college made the tournament for UNT.
You mentioned a guy with NBA level talent on GCU. I want to talk about another guy with NBA level talent on Texas Tech, JT Toppin. That guy is an animal. Big 12 Player of the Year, and I can definitely see Texas Tech making it out of this region because of him. Not to mention the fact that they're getting their star point guard, Chance McMillan, back from injury just at the right time. I think they're going to make a run, guys.
Yeah, Texas Tech is a very good team. I want to talk about the bottom of that bracket, which is the Kansas, Arkansas, and then right below that you got St. John's and Omaha. Assuming Omaha doesn't screw this up for us, you're either going to get a round of 32 matchup of Rick Pitino versus either Bill Self or John Calipari.
Rock Chalk,
Get it. The only reason that I kind of want Arkansas to win is because that might set the record for most recruiting violations between coaches in a matchup between Rick Pitino and John Calipari.
Yeah, a lot of great competition on this side of the bracket. Let's go to the two-time defending national champion, the UConn Huskies. It's been an up and down year for this team in the Big East, but they're still here. They're in the tournament. Wyatt, I'll go back to you here. Do you think there's any chance UConn can regain some of that magic and make another run?
I mean, is it possible? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No. The thing with UConn is that I was not surprised by the slight fall. Because to be honest, it's not a drastic fall off from where they were. It's just because they're not as good. Like they just don't have as good of players as they've had in the past. You lose NBA talent in Donovan Clingan, Stephon Castle, both of them go in the lottery in the NBA draft. And so yeah, it makes sense to me why you're not having the same type of results, because this is not the same level of talent that you have. I know you brought in Liam McNeely, 5-star, and you brought in some other guys. They didn't live up to that billing. Liam McNeely's probably not going to be a lottery draft pick like some of those previous players on UConn. It makes sense to me, and I know that Dan Hurley is a very polarizing figure that a lot of people want to see lose, and I don't blame him for it.
And they just got tough luck of the draw. Like having to play probably Florida in the second round. Yeah, it's gonna be a gauntlet to try to three-peat.
Yeah, and they still have to play OU. I mean, like I mean, if UConn can make it out of the Sweet 16, that's practically a national championship for them.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. This UConn team, anytime they've had to play anybody worth a crap this season, they've lost. Yeah. Ever since the Jim Maui Invitational at the beginning of the season, we saw Dan Hurley look like he just snorted a line of coke before the game, crashing out on the floor. I mean, it's been a mess for them all season. They haven't been able to put together long win streaks past December mark, and it's just been downhill, man. We got Dan Hurley walking off the floor after a loss, flexing his 2 rings. Buddy, this is a new season, all right? And he's not locked in, and I'm not looking for this UConn team to win any games.
Dan Hurley's definitely like the Tony Khan of basketball. Like I've just noticed that. Like there's just something about that guy.
One of those polarizing figures probably this whole tournament.
Yeah, well, he let those championships get to his head, and now they're paying the price.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, you mentioned stiff competition for UConn that they face all year. One of those teams has been the surprise of the year in St. John's. Rick Pitino is working his second-year magic yet again. They are the 2 seed in this tournament. I'm going to go to Q here. Do you think that they can make a run to the Final Four?
Let me see who they face. Omaha? No. I honestly, like maybe this Saturday, I quickly watched some highlights and saw some of their stats. I don't think they'll make it past the second round. I honestly don't think they'll beat Omaha. I know they're the 15th seed, and it's like the hottest of takes, Sun take. I don't think they'll beat Omaha at all. What? Nah, not it.
That's atrocious.
That's crazy, Q.
Hey, that's a huge take, actually.
First round
You're predicting the first 15 seed again
for
the show.
Let's meet back in like 2-3 weeks. Give me my $20 because I'm going to be right.
I was putting money on it. I mean,
all right.
I got money on it right now.
Hey,
Sports Zone.
Can we shake
okay,
on it?
$10. 10. All right, here we go.
I got St. John's by 15.
That's a Sports Zone first. I don't think we've ever had a bet made live on air.
Easiest $10 of my life.
You at least got 2-to-1 odds or something. It's a 15 seed.
I'm gonna get a McDonald's 20-piece with that, dude.
Adam just fleeced you.
We'll see who fleaces who.
The basketball
honestly,
index,
I think I'll get it. The basketball gods love me.
The basketball index gives St. John's a 97% chance to win the game.
Well, that's a 3% chance.
It's the most one-sided in the whole tournament.
3%.
Name one player on Omaha.
Dang, he's right. He got me.
If Omaha wins next Monday, you can say anything you want about this tournament.
Yeah, honestly.
I can?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I'm going crazy.
If Omaha wins, you'll get your own block on Sports Zone.
My own block?
Just
I'm talking about, you know what? I'm going to talk about how the Seahawks could win it in 2031.
A lot of promises being made on set right now. What's not promised is a win, like Q's mentioning, but we do have a very interesting 7-10 matchup. Bill Self, John Calipari, and if they win, they can possibly face off against Rick Pitino. That'd be one of the better coaching matchups that potentially we'd see in this tournament. Gunnar, I'll go to you. Do you think we could see another Calipari-Rick Pitino rivalry?
Oh, definitely. I know Kansas have had their struggles this year. This is a down year for Kansas, so usually a powerhouse program. I don't really see Arkansas beating them. They don't really think they have the athleticism to. Unlike Q, I think St. John's would comfortably take care of Omaha, and that would be a great second-round matchup. It's like a Greg Popovich. Who's the Lakers coach in 2000s?
Phil
Jackson. Yeah, I don't know why I forgot. It's like one of it's like those 2000s matchups when it's just great coaches coaching against each other. I do have St. John's. They are the better team, but it would be a fun second round.
Yeah, it should be a fun bracket overall, and there's a lot of great teams. So, are there any dark horses that we aren't mentioning? We kind of mentioned the 1 and the 2 here. Parker, I'll go to you. Is there a team we're not mentioning who could make a run?
Yeah, and honestly, he mentioned it earlier, but I actually think that Maryland is really good, but another team we haven't talked about is Memphis. And Memphis is a team that, just won the AAC, which a lot of North Texas fans are very familiar with.
Yeah, I wonder why we haven't talked about them yet.
But PJ Haggerty is also another legit NBA talent. I mean, that guy is a hooper, man. Like, he can totally take over a game, had 40 points the other day in the conference tournament game. So, I mean, Memphis with, Penny Hardaway coaching, if they can get Tyrese Hunter back maybe in the second round, something like that, then, I'd like for them to make a run.
Yeah, I mean, and Haggerty has just he's been on one recently throughout like the last, throughout about the last month. And overall, honestly, I think that Memphis does really good in late game situations and not letting the pressure of the moment get to them, because you'll see that they'll fight out a lot of close games. They'll almost lose to, some random they're not supposed to lose to, but they never wilt and they never falter when it matters. They always end up winning when it matters.
And it's simply because of PJ Haggerty, and I mean that it can go both ways there. I think that similar to how we see NBA teams built, I think that PJ Haggerty is where Memphis lives and dies. And I think that in the tournament that'll either carry them far or he'll come out against Colorado State and shoot 3 for 12 and this team will go home. I think that it's a matter of how PJ Haggerty plays. And I mean, Tyrese Hunter, if he can come back very strong, I think that definitely gives this team a new element. But while it's just PJ Haggerty, I think that they live and die by him. If he has a bad game, I see them losing to Colorado State round 1.
Man, as a Texas fan, Tyrese Hunter just confuses me so much. I remember watching him at Iowa State and just killing it in the tournament, dropping like 40 on Wisconsin. And then he gets to Texas, 2 inconsistent seasons, and now he's in Memphis playing great. Maybe it's Texas's fault.
Yeah, a lot of fun players to watch here on that side of the bracket. When we come back, we're going to wrap up our show with the Midwest side of the bracket.
Memphis this.
Looking to open a free checking or savings account but don't know where to start? Check out DatQ Credit Union right here on campus. Get your Mean Green debit card instantly or apply for a DatQ Visa credit card today. Your school, your card. Plus, make deposits at their 24/7 ATM, checks or cash whenever you need it. Make sure to sign up for DatQ's online banking platform and mobile app for easy access anytime, anywhere. Visit them at www.datq.org to learn more. DatQ, the official financial institution of UNT Athletics.
Are you looking for a fun club with travel opportunities? Dive into the UNT Swim Club. Practicing Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Pole Recreation Center. We accept members at any skill level. For more information, reach out to us at unt.swimclub on Instagram.
I use Flex to buy my favorite snacks.
I use Flex to get me through my mornings.
I use Flex at my favorite campus restaurants. I love how Flex is a cashless payment method and can be used at all campus dining venues.
So, how do you use Flex?
Has this ever happened to you?
My bike! My bike is gone!
Stolen bikes are an epidemic sweeping college campuses across America.
What am I supposed to do?
It's quite simple. The We Mean Green Fund has partnered with the UNT Police Department to offer free bike locks to any UNT student with a bike. Just show up with your bike in tow and ask.
Now I'll never lose my bike ever again.
Enough worrying. Get your bike lock today.
Welcome back in the Sports Zone. We're going to wrap things up today with the Midwest bracket. And at number 1, it's a familiar name. Houston is the number 1 seed in familiar territory as they look to finally capture a national championship. Guys, Houston, they've always been at the top of these names. but they've always ruined a lot of people's brackets as well. Christian, I'm going to start with you here. Do you think Houston finally has what it takes to win it all?
I sadly think it's another year of disappointment for Houston fans. This team consistently, I think a reason that this team doesn't have a national championship is you look at all the other teams that are considered college basketball powerhouses, and they all have NBA talent that has gone on and become a star. Like, I think Houston every year, to me personally, they're just missing that star power. Like, we were just talking about PJ Haggerty at Memphis. You don't need a player like that to win on the college level, but when you're in Houston's shoes and year after year you fail to get it done, I think that's what this team needs, is just an X factor that they can turn to in those close game situations every time and live or die by him, for better or worse. I think that you need a superstar offensive talent to help this team get over the hump.
Kind of reminds you about sometimes like in NBA seasons you see. I remember the Hawks in 2015. They had a very deep roster and won a lot of games. But you don't win the playoffs. What rises in like playoff games, like one-off games like these, is the X factor.
Guys, hello? Are we missing something? Milos Uzan, guys.
But
this guy is a legit superstar. He transferred from Oklahoma last year. He has been exceptional. Not to mention the fact that they still have fifth-year senior LJ Cryer. What do we know about experienced guards in the tournament? This Houston team is super legit. They do have an X factor. I'd even say they have two. Not to mention the fact that they're one of the best defensive teams in the country with J.J. Tugler manning the paint. I don't think you guys could be more wrong about this Houston team. They're exceptional.
I agree with Parker on this one. I'm going to have to agree. Defense really, really travels in March. That's what you love to see. Now, the only thing that I'm concerned about with this Houston team, I don't know if y'all have seen this metric. It's called the trapezoid of excellence. The trapezoid of excellence is offensive efficiency and pace. And if you fall outside of this trapezoid, no team has ever won a national championship since they started tracking it. Houston is consistently outside because they play such a slow offensive pace. Now, most of the time they make up for it because they play elite defense, like unbelievable defense. There's a stat that they started tracking called sheds, which is when Jamal Shed would jump up and get steals off of double teams, because that's how frequently they did it. And Houston can make up for some of their offensive woes with defense, but that's why it's been them in the tournament, and that's my only point of concern. But like you said, LJ Cryer is still there, and they have dudes. Like in years past, they had like Jarris Walker and stuff, and he wasn't like this go-to scorer. He just kind of did it all for them. But I really do think that Houston can win it all this year. I think they have the talent. I think they have the defense once again, which they always do. And we talked about winning culture earlier. There's no better winning culture than the one in Houston right now.
I just think Cryer and Uzan. Cryer he's a great offensive talent. But the X factors me and Gunnar, I think we're talking about, are those that you can count on in any late game situation. Cryer barely shoots over 40% from the field. Uzan, he is a superstar, but he's not the superstar. He's a defensive superstar. He averages less than 12 a game, barely 11. He shoots 42% from the field. These are not the guys you want with the ball in your hands when you're down 2 late game. You need a real both of these players are not known for being amazing offensive prospects.
Let him hear it, Parker.
I mean, I don't think you've watched enough of Houston this year. They're 26-1 in their last 27 games. They've barely lost. They just stormed and dominated the Big 12, which has widely been known as the best conference in basketball for the last 5 years. So I'm taking Houston, and I'm trusting them with this team. Extremely well coached, and I mean, I don't think you've watched enough Houston.
You're taking Houston all the way.
I'm taking Houston.
The question.
I'm taking Houston all the way this year.
What you're saying is the same.
All the way.
Those are the same points that we name every year. Oh, Houston dominates their conference. They're so good on defense. But the question was, why haven't they won a national championship?
Well, this is the year for them. This is the year for them.
You say that every year, though.
Yeah. Well, when Isaiah asks that same question next year, I'll say
a lot of disagreement.
This is the Cowboys. This is the year.
A lot of disagreement from our panel. Let's move on to Tennessee, another team that's kind of disappointed when we thought they could have made a big run. Do you think, Parker, Tennessee can finally make a run to the Final Four?
Yeah, I mean, they have a chance. Obviously, I just made my pick. But Tennessee, if you look at the bottom of this bracket, I think this is the easiest little section of a bracket that I've seen so far. Maybe the bottom of that Duke bracket is pretty easy as well. But this Tennessee team, another team that plays really good defense, and I'm a huge Zakai Ziegler fan. That guy is the best defender in the SEC this year. And, I mean, none of these teams, this Utah State, UCLA, Kentucky, Troy, Illinois, none of these teams scare me for a slow-paced defensive team like Tennessee, and I think they're definitely going to make the Elite Eight.
Yeah, let's move our way down the bracket here. Cinderella stories are what make March great. Are there any big Cinderella stories here? Wyatt? Adam?
Take it away, Adam.
Go ahead, Adam.
Give me High Point, all right? Number 4, Purdue. Number 13, High Point. Purdue, there's always something missing with them. They never perform come tournament time. I don't care what happened with Zach Edey going to the Final Four. Shut up. But I don't trust Purdue. I never have trusted Purdue. Not since 2020. Not since North Texas beat them. Like, if North Texas beats you in a basketball game, like,
respect the Mean Green?
No, I'm not going to respect the Mean Greens.
Respect the Meanie Greenies?
Yeah. I'm not going to respect the Greenies. Zach Edey should have beaten North Texas. Like, I'm sorry. I will not trust them since that day, and I still don't trust them in this tournament. High Point is a very solid team, and also they can shoot from anywhere. Go watch that game that they had against Winthrop in the Big South Final. They were shooting Steph level threes. They were shooting from the logo at certain points.
Is that not the method for like all these underdogs you talk about? They're just good shooting teams, and it's like they might get hot. They might get hot, but it's like, are they more likely than not the better team's going to win? So yeah, we can always talk about in the hypotheticals of they shoot very good. Well, this might be their night, but it probably won't be.
High Point sorry about that, but High Point reminds me a lot about Grand Canyon, which are some of the same things I said, which is the length of those guards and the NBA athleticism, not NBA talent per se, but the NBA frame and NBA athleticism that the guards at High Point do have. That's concerning for any team that you play in. Any kind of tournament team that you're playing, if you have elite athleticism with your guards, you're going to have a chance to win the game, even if you don't have like a 7-footer in the paint. You can make up for that a little bit. Now going against a team like Purdue, who is like known for having the big men in the paint and playing inside out, it's going to be more difficult. But High Point has a chance. They're a very, very talented team.
Yeah, talking about teams that shoot with the luck, I think Xavier is another one you have to look at. They're not even fully in yet. They're going to have to play in that first 4 game. But Xavier has been hot game after game after game, and they only lost to Marquette off of a last-second heartbreaking bucket. And I think that Xavier really gives Texas the work here. And I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to go far in the tournament, but I am very confident to say that Xavier will beat Texas and will take that 11th spot with how hot they've been lately.
Yeah, a lot of good teams in this bracket. We'll wrap things up here with our quick predictions for this bracket, starting with Wyatt. Who do you think makes it out?
I think Houston does make it out, but you can definitely see some push in that round of 32 if Gonzaga wins against Georgia.
Q?
Give me the Trojan horse and short. Come on now. They're going far.
He's not entirely wrong. Kentucky's going to lose first round. But I'm going to have to agree with Wyatt here. I'm going to have to go with Houston.
H-Town.
I think Houston makes it out the region, but I just can't see them winning.
Oh, come on. Are you kidding me?
Wait, so I'm going to be the one guy. All right, Tennessee. I got Tennessee.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I'm going to go with Houston out of this bracket. And that's going to do it today for our show. Thank you so much to everyone who joined in. Make sure you tune in to Thursday for their show and to also tune in Thursday for the start of the NCAA tournament. Thank you so much for joining.